and today's video is in continuation with the last video where we did some basics about el verbo, the verb in Spanish language, and there we got to know about some very important things like the infinitive form of a verb has a pattern. That means the infinitive form of a verb looks something like ending with either a R de español, a R de español or I R de español. That means a verb in Spanish language, the infinitive form sounds something like R, or ir in the end. And we also got to know that in every infinitive form of a verb, we can divide the whole word in two parts. One is the root part and the other one is the suffix part. And there were a lot more things. In order to know all of them, I recommend you to go back to that video first so that you understand this part in a more clear way. Okay, so getting back to the root and the suffix part, here I have three examples depending on three suffixes or terminations. So number one is trabajar. So the first part up to here is the root part, and this one AR or AR is the termination part. Every verb in Spanish language can be divided in this way. I mean root part, then the suffix part. Comer, root part, suffix part. Root part, suffix part. And the suffix could be R, or ir. Now why I am spending so much of time on root and termination? Because it has a reason. When the form of a verb changes, the whole word doesn't change, only the suffix part changes. That means the root part up to here, up to here, up to here remains intact, and the only thing that changes is the suffix R, or ir. Now next most obvious question is, why would the form of verb change? I mean, I also discussed it in the last class, but I will briefly discuss it over here, that when the person changes or when the time changes, the verb doesn't remain same. It's something like, if I say he goes to the market, I won't say you goes to the market, I would say you go to the market. And for the past tense, I would say you went to the market. So the form of the verb changes with the subject and also with the time. So just knowing the infinitive form of the verb is not sufficient if you want to use that verb in a sentence. I mean, trabajar literally means to work. To work. I cannot say you to work. Or comer is to eat. I cannot say he to eat. Or escribir is to write. So I cannot say she to write. I really need to change the form of the verb. So today we will learn how the verb changes with the person when we are talking about one particular time. Okay? So in order to learn this, you have to keep one thing in mind, and you have to learn something, and probably this is the most challenging thing, and there is no shortcut to this. This is the table that you need to learn, and one thing about this table is the contents of this table have to stay at same places. You cannot, for example, pick this thing and put it over here. It cannot be so. Now, the contents of this table are the pronouns. Like I told you that it's I go and she goes. So the subject, I, you, he, she, it are actually the contents of this table. And you have to learn this table as it is, and there's no shortcut. You won't find any teacher who suggests you some other way. There's no shortcut to it. So let's come to the table. So initially you have to draw two horizontal lines and one vertical line, and you can also number the boxes. I mean, if you wish, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, it's entirely up to you. Otherwise, you just have to visualize it. So the first thing written over here is yo. Yo means I. First person singular. Second box has tu. Tu means you. Second person singular. Please pay attention in this case, because in English language you could be used for second person singular or plural. I mean, if there are more than one people at front of you, you could say you for them as well. But in Spanish, it's only singular. That means one person at front of you. Third box is él, that is he, ella, she, and usted. Now this usted is nothing but some modification in tu. That means when you want to address a singular entity standing at front of you, with respect, or when you are in a formal situation, you will say usted. In English language, if you are casually associated with someone, or you are formally associated with someone, or probably you want to pay a lot of respect to somebody, you will only say you in every case. But in Spanish, no. You would say tú when it's a casual conversation, and you would say usted if it is a respectful or a formal situation. Okay? Now the next box is nosotros. Nosotros means first person plural, we. Next is vosotros. So it's vosotros because la V de español sounds like la B de español. Okay? So vosotros is you plural. That means more than one people standing in front of you. And the last box has third person plural form, that is ellos, they, masculine, ellas, they, feminine, and ustedes. Now this ustedes works in the same way how this usted works for tú. That means if you have more than one people standing in front of you and you are in a formal situation, or you want to pay respect to those people, you would say ustedes. Remember, this will come here, this will not come here. Okay? Now when you know this table, half of your work is done. Because now you're going to jump to the other table, and that table actually depends on the termination you are working with. I mean, it really depends on what kind of verb you are working with. It could be the AR termination, ER termination, or IR termination. Today, as an example, I will be explaining the AR termination, like trabajar, to work, and the other example that I have is cantar. Cantar means to sing. Okay? Now, depending on the pronoun, depending on the subject, I, you, he, she we are working with, we change the termination. We change this part, the suffix part of the verb, and that's how it becomes suitable for that particular subject or pronoun. I mean, if for example I want to say I sing, so the subject is yo, I. And now I have to make some changes in cantar so that it becomes suitable for yo. So if I say I sing, it would be yo, obviously I, and then I have to keep the root part intact. I already told you. So it would be C-A-N-T, that's it. And in place of this termination, I would put this termination. Yo canto. Okay? In the beginning, it's a suggestion that you can start by writing the root part in the entire table, just like that. C-A-N-T is the root part, so you can keep writing like this, C-A-N-T. And now you just have to keep changes in mind. For example, we did I sing, it was yo canto. If I say you singular sing, you sing, it would be tú, and corresponding to this tú is this place in this table. So you have to replace the termination with this. So it would be tú cantas. Tú cantas. Okay? Now, if I say he sings, she sings, or usted, that means you want to address you with a lot of respect or in a formal situation, you would say él, ella, or usted, that means any of these three. Canta. Él canta, he sings. Ella canta, she sings. Usted canta, you sing. Respectful and formal way. Okay? Now next is nosotros, that means we. If I want to say we sing, it would be nosotros. So let's keep nos for that. Okay, nosotros, I mean you need to write the complete form obviously. Nosotros cantamos. Cantamos. Nosotros cantamos. So if it is you, plural, second person plural, sing, it would be vosotros. You can say vos. By the way, in many countries they also say vos, but the globally accepted version is vosotros, so go for vosotros only. Vosotros cantáis. Vosotros cantáis. So there is stress over A because it has tilde on top of it. Vosotros cantáis, and if it is they, masculine, ellos, they, feminine, ellas, or if it's a mix of masculine and feminine, that means ellos again. Ustedes, second person plural for respect and formality, it would be ellos, ellas, or ustedes. Any of these three. Cantan. Okay, cantan. Now, we know all of it, but I know you're feeling confused because now you have two tables. First of all, the position of the pronouns, depending on the position in the table, will become quite clear to you once you start seeing this table on a regular basis. Initially, probably you need to write yo, then o, tu, then as, but after some time you'll see that your mind already knows that this box is for vosotros, this box is for yo. Okay? I recommend you to initially practice by speaking out everything quite loud. For example, I already told you that you need to practice it like o, as, a, amos, ais, an, o, as, a, amos, ais, an. And then when you have a regular simple verb, for example, AR termination, cantar, canto, cantas, canta, cantamos, cantáis, cantan. Yo canto, tú cantas, él canta. This thing really pays. I mean, after some time you realize that you have trained your mind, and when you say yo, you already know that the next word, that means this, has something to do with this termination. So trust me, whenever you are practicing it, try to be loud and try to train your mind accordingly. Okay? Now everything is clear, everything is written over here. These are the pronouns, these are the changes in the suffix part. Let's try to practice it in form of small sentences, because you will gain much more confidence and you'll have a sense of achievement that now you can make small sentences. Okay? So the verb, I would say, which is most commonly used in day-to-day life is to speak, hablar. Okay? The important thing about this verb hablar, that is to speak, is that the H is silent, so it sounds like hablar. Okay? The H, la H doesn't have any sound. Now if I say I speak, take a moment and try to create the Spanish version on your own. I speak. So it would be yo. To make the speak thing, you have to see the root part and then add this termination. Hablo. Yo hablo. I mean, if you wish, you can write H-A-B-L everywhere, and then you can keep adding the terminations, or you can just keep it in your mind. You speak. Tú hablas. Tú hablas. If it's he or she speaks, or you for respect of formality speak, it would be él, ella, or usted habla. So any of these three plus habla. Okay? Now, if it's we, nosotros, we speak, it's nosotros hablamos. So it's nosotros, it's hablamos. If it's you all, you plural, you speak, it's vosotros habláis. Vosotros habláis. And finally, if it's they, masculine, feminine, or a mix, or you plural for respect of formality, it would be ellos, ellas, or ustedes. Any of these three, hablan. Hablan. Okay, so this was all. Soon I'll come with the ER and IR terminations as well. But till then, please keep practicing the simple forms. I mean, this is my suggestion, that please don't jump onto the complicated or the long verbs directly. Please try to practice the simple, small, regular verbs and try to speak out loud and try to follow the pattern, and you'll realize that the ER and IR forms as well would be quite easy for you. So till the next class, keep studying Spanish, and thank you.